Today, we have with us Rachelle Bryant, passionate storyteller and best-selling author, and dear friend of anyone who has had the chance to cross her path. I'm Ashley Elizabeth Packard, and I have had the honor of knowing Rachelle for a few years now. But what you need to know about Rachelle is that she has been published multiple times in things like the Marketing, Media, and Money magazine. She's also been a part of a previous anthology that was released in September of 2023 called We Choose Joy. And when you get a chance to be around Rachelle, you understand what it is like to be caught up in her contagiously passionate energy. Her heart is always focused on creating a safe space for people to thrive, and she is completely dedicated to empowering others to share their voices with the world. It is my complete honor to be able to interview her today with our upcoming release of the book Rooted to Rise, which is the first anthology that she has had the chance to curate personally through her publishing company, Wildly Free LLC. Rachelle, welcome. Why don't you take a second to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ashley. That was an amazing intro. I don't think anything describes me better than the infectious energy that I have when it comes to storytelling. I didn't really realize that it was such a part of who I was until people started speaking it into me a couple of years ago. And by them seeing that in me, I gave myself permission to open and receive that is who I am. And so it's just been a huge honor to have so many multiple opportunities through magazines, books, articles, social media, all of the avenues to be able to create that safe space that you talked about, because I feel that that was something I always needed. And so I want to give that back to people, because now not only do I feel safe within myself, I feel like I have the ability to make others feel that way as well. And honestly, it's just really, it feels a bit overwhelming these days, because I never realized that when I finally put it out there, that people were just waiting. And that's what I'm noticing over the last year, that they were literally just waiting for me to create that invitation.
So why don't you tell us just a tiny bit about the book and what inspired you to curate this as an anthology, as opposed to, writing it as something that was just a collection of your own work?
It's a great question. So it has a little bit of a backstory. I was, I've been with this tribe of women for now almost 7 years next month. And wow, 7 years. And just being in life together. It wasn't just business. It was, we all got to do life together on so many levels. And sadly and tragically, I was doing a book with another group, the We Choose Joy book, and one of my closest friends was also in that book, and she was the one that encouraged me to be a part of that anthology. And sadly, she was left the world, we'll say it that way, actually on my birthday of 2023. And she was such a voice, a power like no other. Talk about energy. No one could match her energy, no matter how hard they tried. And I made a promise that I would always have her voice be out there in the world, because her voice was silenced. And I knew that she would have loved to have written a book where she could have talked about just her experiences with the healing qualities of cannabis as a whole, but specifically CBD. And so it was just sitting on my heart. So I went, we finished the We Choose Joy book. And then a couple weeks later, I just felt like I needed to just create an invitation to our community, our tribe. And because I just felt this tugging, like, Rachelle, do this book, do this book. And so I just kind of put it out there at one of our group meetings. And I said, invitation without expectation, which is how I live every part of my life, because I have no expectations of others. The only one I need to have expectations of is myself. And then 3 months later, the people who were meant to be were landed into the book. And the reason I wanted this to be an anthology rather than just be my voice is because collectively, multiple voices are stronger than one. And that's really what matters to me, is to give everybody permission to share their story, because nobody's story is the same. You know, we can all create that common place, that commonality through shared parts, but as a whole, we stand alone, and that's where all the strength comes from. So we have 7 holes in this book that have multiple parts that multiple people are going to be able to relate to. And plus, I mean, why wouldn't I want to be in community with some of my favorite people and figure it out along the way? So that's really like that's the backstory of the how it became and why it was an anthology, because I love writing with others. It's just, whether it's just like in a writing hour or if it's to publish a book. So
you have such a gift of bringing people together in community. And so I think it's a really beautiful thing that you're using that gift plus your storytelling gift to bring people together and like meld those two worlds together. And I don't know, it's amazing to see the kinds of things that you bring together. And so when you think about what it looked like to bring these people together, I'm assuming that you had people who responded at all levels when you issued that invitation, right? So what were some of the reactions that you got from people? Because I'm assuming that it ranged from, oh my gosh, yes, I'm in, to like, I don't know if I belong here, but maybe. So what was that like to kind of field those initial reactions and start creating the space where a book like this could be born?
I love that you brought that up, because there were obviously, like you, I'm all in. Just tell me where and when to show up. And then I had people that were interested. We started with an original 12.
Okay.
And, and then I also had people that wanted to, but didn't have the capacity. And I love that they spoke up to that. I love that they didn't overcommit. And I made it very clear there's going to be 3 of these. I'm making it a trilogy. And so I said, I'm just going to hold space for you in book 2 or 3, wherever life is, and I had some people that were worried about obviously the financial aspects of it and all of that, but really the majority of you were all in and didn't waver at all. I did have one author that just felt so overwhelmed, like midway through it, and quit and was like, there's no way. And I sat with her and I just gave her permission to sit in all of that fear. And I said, we're going to do this together. Like, are you willing to let me walk through this with you? And we're just going to make it happen. And I think the lesson that needed to be learned was to not feel like she needed to do it alone. And we all rallied around her once we all found out, and to have that love and that community and that support. So I would say that it wasn't even just in the beginning of saying yes, it was even throughout the process of writing the book. So it's just
have those reactions. Oh, I love that. Sorry. Have those reactions shifted at all now that the book is out? Like, are you seeing that people are responding differently now that you're kind of throwing out more invitations to be a part of either the rest of this trilogy or other books?
Funny you should ask that, because there's a lot of people that use the term FOMO, that they have FOMO, that they didn't just make it work to be in this first book. This first book is the golden child of the trilogy. It's the one that came from a place that book 2 and 3 are going to have their own beautiful space. But book 1 is where it begins, and being in that space. So a lot of the people who weren't convicted in their ability to make it happen, they're feeling like, oh, why didn't I just make it work? And because it wasn't easy for anybody, and not even just talking about the financial aspect of it. I start off every book telling the future authors that everything is going to try to derail you.
Mm-hmm.
And collectively, within the seven of us, I would say 6 out of the 7 of us hit some of the hardest things that I wouldn't even say that they had to overcome, but that they had to work with at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. And I wish I could write a book about that, because talk about the content that would have been within that book. I don't know, maybe it's a future book. The content, I wish there was like a way to tell the backstory, and we are going to honor that a little bit in some podcasts, but you guys just amazed me of what you were willing to still do despite the derailing, the obstacles. So, yeah.
So that kind of leads me into my next question, because as an author who's been published multiple times yourself, and then now as a curator of this anthology, I know that there are going to be people who are watching this that are dying to know, like, what are some of these like truths that you've discovered about your own writing process? Because you're an author in this book as well. You didn't only curate it. So you're an author in this book as well. What have you discovered about your own truth, as well as the truths of others as they walk through this writing process?
Beautiful, beautiful question. So, in reflection of that, I would say that get all thoughts of being snuggled in a blanket in front of a fireplace with your laptop or your journal with a warm cup of tea or coffee out of your mind. Anything you've ever seen Hollywood, show you. You're not going to go off to Bali and write the book. I don't know, maybe you will. You're not going to go to some beach that's like right on the water. Just remove all of those. And then give yourself permission for what does becoming an author look like for you. And create it. Create that space for you. For some of us, writing last minute, that under pressure, just like a diamond is made under pressure, maybe that's who you are as an author. Maybe you're the type of person that needs to put it in your planner. I'm going to work on this for 20 minutes. I'm going to have like my headphones on. I'm going to have my water, my whatever. And then some of you are going to be a mix in between all of that and then other things, right? But I think the most beautiful thing is to embrace what is waiting for you. Embrace the journey that's already been written, that is tailored completely to you, and all you have to do is make space to receive it. And for me personally, I'm a mixture of all the things. Sometimes I'll sit here, I'll listen to my headphones, I'll tell my whole family, I have 4 kids that are homeschooled, so they're always here, and I'll tell them, if my headphones are on, don't disturb me. And you have to set healthy boundaries, not only with others, but you have to set those boundaries with yourself. And then sometimes I can be sitting watching TV or a movie with my family, but still have my laptop because ideas come to me in the weirdest moments. And I also even have my laptop beside my bed now. This is a new habit I created, because sometimes I'll wake up an hour or 2 or 3 and just not want to get out of bed. But that's when I'm convicted to write. So the lessons learned is just enjoy the journey.
I love that.
Bottom line, and don't stress out about it, because this is a choice.
It is. It is, absolutely. So what would you say to somebody? I know your heart, and I know the heart behind Wildly Free. So if there is somebody out here who's listening to this and they're like, well, I don't know Rachelle personally. I wasn't a part of her tribe. Maybe CBD is not my thing. Whatever. Maybe I feel like I have a story, but I feel like this thing that you're talking about is out of reach. What would you tell them about Wildly Free and about you and about what it takes, what's possible for a story of their own?
I would say, first of all, have a conversation with yourself. What expectations do you have? Why are you doing it? Why are you
Mhm.
wanting to share your story? So sit in space with yourself first and foremost, and then reach out to me. I get the honor to be the front of the house of Wildly Free. I can't even begin to tell you what that means to me. That whatever you believe in, or however you believe in it, I was chosen to get to be the front of the house.
Mhm.
And just to let you know, I am very much an introvert. So having conversations is very uncomfortable for me when it's surface conversations. How's the weather? Da, da, da. But this is what I was created to do, to have those deep, meaningful conversations. So let's just chat.
Mhm.
And I guarantee that we're going to find that common ground within 2 to 3 minutes, because just as much as you're probably nervous to reach out, I am equally as excited to get to know you
Mhm.
and your story. And there's no pressure to like write a book about it or anything. I just love listening. I just love sitting in space and listening to people. I have conversations with people in airports, in parking lots, in grocery stores. I had a conversation with someone in Costco the other day because of a sweatshirt I was wearing. And that's what humanity is about. It's
Mhm.
about coming together, sharing our stories, playing with the power that those stories hold, and figuring out how to share that and spread it. Every story doesn't have to be like a tragic story or a traumatic story or anything like that. Even those stories that are purely about celebration, are purely about joy, are purely about whatever, your story matters because you matter. And there's no commitment other than the one that you want to make to yourself.
I
And
love how you create those beautiful spaces. It's just a completely authentic space. It's a
it's
completely
just a
authentic.
matter of, you're not going to be ready until you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody can make you ready. And even throughout the process, nobody can bring that readiness to you. I can sit in it with you. I can
Mm-hmm.
love on you and encourage you and be in that space with you, but I can't own it. It's not my journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's your journey. And I think that one of the most beautiful things about curating an anthology and specifically, or just working with someone who's writing a book, is being in that space of tearing down, getting rid of the old roots, uh, and then really giving themselves permission to allow new roots to grow deeper, the healthier
Mm-hmm.
roots. Ironically, yes, this book is called Rooted to Rise, but I've done so much root work, and I can say with conviction that I have no more rotten roots that I'm aware of, and that I gave permission for the new ones to go deep,
Mm-hmm.
so that anything that hits the surface, I still have that strong foundation. Because just like a flower is meant to die and wither away, those
Mm-hmm.
roots are there for life.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important. I'm all about imagery, not just because I'm an author, but because it just helps me see the world through a different lens, and really just, it's a fun ride. And I will say that with Wildly Free, we get to personalize it together, the experience. I don't have packages. I don't want to have packages. I don't want everybody to go, oh, I want to be silver, gold, or platinum package or whatever. It's not about, you know, any of that for me. This is a mission. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I was called to do, and I get to do it as a business. And that's huge. I don't show up because I have to. I show up because I get to.
Oh, I love that so much. I just think that my hope for everybody listening to this is that they realize that the kind of foundation you create is fertile ground. right? And you can bring whatever it is that you have there, and I can promise that you're going to grow. It's like not really possible to do it any other way. And so I just hope that for everybody. So as we're kind of starting to wrap this up, tell me, February 11th is the release of Rooted to Rise. That's our digital release. And then we have the physical release on February 25th. What are you hoping is going to be what do you hope people are going to take away from this anthology that you have lovingly and so intentionally curated?
So it's hard for me to use the word I hope they take away.
Oh, sure.
Uh, I
What do you
know,
hope they experience? Oh, there you go.
yeah,
I
I
like
know
that.
they will receive what is waiting for them.
Mm,
So again, like the word hope kind of goes with that whole expectation.
yeah.
I wrote this book not only for my friend who can't be here as a voice, not only for what I was called to do, not only for the beautiful journeys of the other six of you, but I know that there are people that want to be able to relate in a way that's outside of social media. You know, writing a book is more personalized. I can share my story on social media all day long, but am I really capturing the attention of the reader, or are they just reading it real quick to scroll, or reading it real quick to just like it, or reading
Hmm.
it real quick because they're reading it in the bathroom?
Hmm.
A book is forever. You can touch it. You can, I love physical books.
Hmm.
Yes, the digitals, those are great too. But I love to turn the pages because imagine everything that went into every single page. And now I can say that as a publisher, every page is created very uniquely and with a lot of intention. And so, again, no hope, but I guarantee men and women are going to receive what's meant for them. And what I love about books, I don't know if anybody else has done this, but have you ever gone back and reread a book and you received something new?
Absolutely.
So, this is a book that is going to allow people to have messages, multiple messages. This isn't just a book about cannabis. It's like such a, that's what brought us together, but that's definitely not what created the relationships and the community that we have. It was our own spirits. It was our own hearts. It was our own personalities. None of us are the same. And you will definitely read that in every chapter. We are all uniquely different in our stories. But we shared this because for years to come, you will receive what's waiting for you.
Oh, I love that. It's so beautiful. This book is going to have such a dramatic impact, and I know that. So, as we're finally wrapping it up, this is my last question for you. What is next for Wildly Free? And is there anything that you want to leave our audience with that you haven't had a chance to say so far?
Oh, so I'm excited to announce that in January,
Uh-huh.
April, I'm not good with like quarters. Anyways, Wildly
Uh-huh.
Free will be releasing 4 workbooks.
Uh-huh.
And the first one comes out in January. And it's to take you through the process so that you have something structured, because people love structure, but it's also got a lot of pages in it to give you permission to be what we love to call is wildly free. And it's going to give you an opportunity to have something to work with us as writing coaches. It's going to give you the ability to like really ask yourselves, I wouldn't say hard questions, but questions that maybe you have never considered asking yourself.
They're deep.
Yeah, I mean, you're
They're,
editing it right now, so
they're
uh,
deep.
they're deep, and it's going to be on your timeline. But like if you have a goal, you know, like, oh, by the end of the year, whatever year you started on, you're going to be able to do that if that's like something that you want to do. I'm also excited to announce that I am releasing on, is it March 13th? My first solo book. It's called Expiration Date Unknown. And I'm not going to go into detail with that, because it's an extraordinary book and it's very vulnerable. Talk about vulnerability. So this is me flying solo. And so I'm excited for you guys to see what that's all about on our wildlyfreellc.com website. And I would love to take, we also have multiple other anthologies starting in 2025. There are so many projects that I can't even keep them straight. And I have more that are going to be born next week through other calls and everything. You know, I'll take a moment to tell you a short story about how Wildly Free even came about. My husband and I were on the beaches of Hawaii in January of 2023, and we just knew we were both feeling called, and we were getting alone time away from the 4 kids. And we were both feeling called to do something. We didn't know what it was. And previously, we had lived a life of just being wildly free. We really just kind of live a life of do what we want when we want to do it. So we both sat there, we both started talking about it as we're sipping on our iced coffees, and Wildly Free, the name was born. We didn't know what it was going to be. We just wanted to create a space where people didn't have to do it according to somebody else's rules and expectations and societal expectations. Then last year, January of 2024, we knew it was going to be obviously to have our own publishing company, because I had this book that was going to happen. And I didn't want any rules. I have never been a great rule follower, and I wanted to do it my way. So we knew that that along with some other services that we provide was going to be wildly free. And over, by starting this book and all of that, we decided that whatever part you are in the writing process, if you just want to hang out with someone and write, do it with Wildly Free. It's going to be a beautiful experience. If you want to write a book, do it with Wildly Free, because you're going to be heard. And that's one thing that we want you to know, that you will be heard and you will be seen, and there are no expectations for you to be anything else. And so we want you to write your book the way you want to write your book. Yes, there are certain parameters like how to do it, but we want you to create your own experience with guidance, because we know what we're doing. And then about 6 months into this last year, we decided to go all out publishing, put the rest of our services kind of behind the scenes. And as soon as I did that, talk about the law of attraction, I have a waiting list of people to connect with in terms of just wanting to share their stories. I had no idea. This was never on my predicted outcome of life. And that's what makes it so exciting, because it was waiting for me. And I was ready. I prepared myself to receive it. And you won't find a better team of people. I am very picky. I have always ran all of my businesses solo, but I knew I couldn't do this alone. And you will never find a better group of people than what has been attracted to Wildly Free. And for everyone who has said yes, like Ashley. And it's just, it's a unique space. It's not for everyone. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's going to be for the people that are waiting to experience a space like what we have created.
So true. It's so true. Rachelle, thank you so much for all of your time. Thank you for sharing your gifts and your stories and your talents with the world. I know that this particular podcast and the invitations that you have out there, that it's going to resonate for a long time to come. I cannot wait for everybody to get their hands on Rooted to Rise, whether it's their digital copy or their physical copy. And until the next time you do a Meet the Author or Meet the Curator podcast, we'll wish you guys all the best. Bye now.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye.